Well, thanks, Andy, for joining me. Just to kind of give myself a little bit of background, just so everyone here is watching for the first time. My name is Damian Budnick. Just like technology in general, and I like life experiences. I did a challenge where I used 24 hours in a day using Bitcoin only in DC. Now, without further ado, I'm just going to introduce Andy Krainak. And did I say that right? Krainak?
Yeah, Krainak.
Krainak. Okay, cool. I just want to be respectful. So I know you introduced yourself so many times. I'm just going to try to help you on out here. You joined VaynerMedia kind of like nine-ish, almost 10 years ago. Employee number 50-ish or so.
A little later, like 100.
Okay. And you've been part of the whole company for like a lot of acquisitions during that time too, a whole bunch of other subsidiaries. So you've seen so much of that like business side and of the social media side too when you first joined, when it came to like Facebook ads. Now there's, Twitter ads or like any other kind of Instagram ads and all sorts of new ways of retention model and ways of like target audiences. So I imagine you've seen like the full circle, just like how this evolution of social media is kind of evolving. From that social media world that you came from, what is it like now working for or now creating an NFT company and like using those methods that you learned from social media into like this new Web3 world?
Yeah. One, thank you for having me on your YouTube channel, Damien.
Yeah, thank
Two,
you.
I think the biggest similarity is the speed of change. Meta, Facebook, Instagram, specifically out of all the platforms, but generally the social media landscape at large, especially from 2013 to 2019, was changing on a daily, monthly basis. The platform comes up with a new update. They have stories, they have ads, new product features, whereby if you're really learning and using those product features, you could drastically impact the growth of your brand and the impact and reach that you would have of the growth of your brand. Similarly with Web3 now, man, if you don't keep up with the news on a weekly, daily basis, you will quickly fall behind on like where things are going, what's happening with different projects, marketplaces, and the general vibes, if you will, of the whole space. So I think that's the biggest similarity. And then VeeFriends itself is a combination of Web2 and Web3. To be able to host an event, our annual conference VCon, and the magnitude of VCon, we have to rely on a lot of Web2 dynamics. Email, marketing, things of that nature. And same with the VeeFriends IP. The goal with VeeFriends, aside from hosting and developing a really powerful community, is to grow the IP that we created. Unlike other projects, we're a little bit of an anomaly where VeeFriends owns the IP. And in order to really grow and scale the IP, we have to lean on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and other platforms to really garner the reach and distribution that we want to achieve.
I find it like such a huge advantage coming like from what you learned so far from VaynerMedia and also leveraging Gary and like other influencers. How else are you gonna drive the community to like another level, if you would?
The same way that we drove the notoriety of Gary Vee over the last 10 years, which is creating contemporary contextual content to the places that people are spending their time. There's a lot of kids playing on Roblox. There's a lot of kids watching YouTube Kids. There's a lot of humans watching YouTube. To storytell with the VeeFriends characters around the values and the stories that we want to tell are the tasks at hand. Documenting and storytelling around Gary Vee when I started working for him as an intern has the same religion of what I just said, like contemporary contextual content on the platforms people are paying attention. Now we just have 283 characters that are going to come to life in animation form and different live action animation that we have to storytell around. It's more time consuming. There's more nuances. You have voice actors, character rigs. The process and the tactics are different, but the religion is the same. Whether you're VeeFriends or a personal brand or some other media content business, you have to think about how to storytell in relevant ways where people are spending their time.
True. I totally agree.
And the
And
VeeFriends community is a little different. Like just to piggyback on what you were saying before,
yeah,
we said that, Web3 moves in a 24-hour, 12-hour news cycle. Like things are changing all the time, and there's a lot of pump and dumps, people just like making a headline thing, and then the market moves. VeeFriends is an anomaly in a way where like our community are, for the most part, and I take a lot of pride in this, are bought into what we're building, what we're about, and why they want to be in the community. Someone might watch this who's a friend of yours who hasn't heard of VeeFriends or what we're trying to build and create, might be interested to be like, yeah, that sounds like a pretty dope thing that they're working on. The community sounds really warm and friendly and positive, which it is. And so that they join us. That's really how we're growing and expanding. There's very little day trading. I want to pop in and pop back out. Our ethos of a community is like, we're ready to sit down for the next 40 years and create positive vibes, education, and try to bring these characters to life.
oh, it's awesome. And I seen a couple of the characters are really cool. I know you mentioned in previous podcasts and other interviews too that Gary gave you one. I think I don't know if it was like the first one of his characters or like if it was like within top 10 or 100, but yeah.
Yeah, he gave me a first time we had ever sent an NFT. It was almost like a test. He was like, "I'll send one to Andy." He sent me a To the Moon meerkat, and then the first one that he actually gifted me was Forever Phoenix, which is the one that means the most to me.
I apologize. I should have done a little bit more homework when it came to like the VeeFriend characters. I know some of them are tied with tokens to like visit Gary, either like courtside, like basketball seats or tennis match or coffee or dinner.
Yep.
Let's say, for example, if someone redeemed one of those like experiences with Gary from their VeeFriends character, but then traded it to another person, obviously Gary gets the royalties and stuff like that. Not to get into that kind of monetary aspect, but let's say the token that was tied to that character, is the clock reset to that new owner, or is it? Oh, so it's
Well,
not. So it's,
when we and these are all the things that we had to work out. And before I go into the specific details of this use case, when we launched VeeFriends, when Gary was envisioning creating an NFT project, an NFT company, and why he wanted to do it, a huge use case was that he wanted to create a blueprint for what he was seeing was going to happen with other big public figures, artists, musicians, creating once in a lifetime access experiences through digital collectibles, whereby you get the experience, but then you still can have this digital collectible after the fact. For Courtside Cat or Hangout Hawk or Bowling Boa, where you go bowling with Gary. Jam Session Snail, where you have a 3-hour business jam session with Gary talking about business operations, marketing, however best he can help your business. What happens is we schedule the meeting with Damien. Damien's a Courtside Cat holder. Courtside Cat event actually is tomorrow, funny enough.
nice.
That person is scheduled. The day that event takes place, we update the token metadata so that it says no longer 2 of 2 access experiences remaining. It says 1 of 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that on chain, it exemplifies how much or where it is in its life cycle of access experiences. So when we first minted it, you go to the website, you would buy the Courtside Cat, and it would say some purchase terms which said this cat is redeemable for 3 basketball courtside experiences with Gary once every year for the next 3 years. And then first year goes down, and then it says 2 of 3 redemptions available, 1 of 3 redemptions available.
Gotcha. And for some of them, I'm assuming there's like after its expiration, that's just kind of it. And they just they keep the character obviously, and it's still part of the community. But as far as like the access to Gary or to any other associations to those tokens and stuff, unless you would go on chain and maybe redeem more.
This is the thing. We can dictate whatever we want.
Yeah.
Like 10 years from now, Gary might just be like, you know what? I feel like going to more Knicks games. let me reinstate the access utility for Courtside Cat. And it's fun to think about because what's going to happen? Let's say Web3 goes away or whatever. Who knows what the world looks like 10 years from now, right? But it's hard not to imagine if Gary decides that courtside cat, wherever it is in the world and wherever Web3 is, would still have value, and it's actually going to go up in value because now all of a sudden you're getting courtside seats to a Knicks game in accompanying Gary. So essentially, the blockchain is the blockchain, but it's really what you can do off chain in IRL settings that are going to impact what happens on chain.
True. And that's cool. So like, yeah, you guys can just ever endlessly kind of keep changing it as time moves on. And
The big one within the VeeFriends community that's discussed and speculated and debated and what's going to happen is after next year, will we do VCon ever again? You know, right now we priced and launched VeeFriends as an IP that we're going to continue to grow and build, but also as a ticket to an annual conference known as VCon for 2022, 2023, and 2024. 2022 was a huge success. I think really set up the brand of what VCon is and what a conference of that magnitude is, with a diversity of, you know, public figures, celebrities, entrepreneurs, innovators, technologists, creators. This year is in Indianapolis, and then we have next year. And we might say, see ya, thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed these 3 years of VCon. Hope you got the education, the relationships that we were hoping to put forth for the community. Or we could just surprise everyone, say like, see you at VCon 2025.
man, that's awesome. That'd be a huge surprise too. And like, right now, I mean, there's currently like a crypto winter market, and like even with the economy itself too, with inflation and stuff like that. I think with VeeFriends, it's like you said, like there could be a couple day traders here and there, but like it's about that community that like you and Gary like have cultivated and like made out of this. It's like it's not really just money wise. It's more just like what can I get with my time? And it's things like that that's going to help like thrive with this community. So that's really awesome to see.
And I always say this, I think I've said it on almost every podcast I've done. It's the one thing that money can't buy. Everyone wants to come to me with how do I launch less people now, but at, you know, fall 2021, early 2022, my inbox was full of, hey, do you have 15 minutes to help me think through this NFT project I want to launch? And generally I'm like, listen, yeah, you can pay someone to create the token contract and do the development work and create a website. You can pay an artist to do the artwork. All that stuff is the commodity. What's not a commodity is getting people to care. You know, how do you do that? How do you market it? And how do you do it consistently? And I only know one way, and that's day in and day out, really trying to provide value in the forms of entertainment, education, emotional connection with people in an authentic way. And if you do that day in and day out for 10, 15 years, as Gary has, you develop a very, very, very strong community that have trust and passions and shared liked interests.
And I imagine with everyone, all these advices that people coming to you and like how to launch a project could be difficult, or even a lot of externalities coming into it, because it's like I could open a business, but what type of business can it be? It could be anything that you want it to be. As far as like when it comes to VeeFriends and what you do to day, and for all the knowledge that you get, do you leverage some people from Vayner3, from people like from World of Women, and like from other NFT projects to kind of see like how these projects have came about and how they still keep innovating, and see like how you can kind of implement that to VeeFriends? Or you also suggest them like collaboratively? Can you share a little bit of like how you work with like Vayner3, or just work
Yeah, I
with
mean,
other people?
100%. Like as we talked about earlier, I think keeping a pulse on who's doing what and why and how is imperative to driving successful business results. Whether you're in Web3 and NFTs, or you're at Amazon, or you're in software, or even if you're in automotive, like keeping on the pulse on like what's trending, what's working, is imperative. I think for VeeFriends, we're in such a amazing place personally for me, where I could ask Avery, or I could ask Peter Schoen, the head of platforms at VaynerX, or I could ask uh, VaynerX's content production firm how they think about things. How would they think about creating a VeeFriends short form animated film, or how do they think about talking with Fortune 100s on onboarding them into Web3 and what their experiences are, or how do I think about reaching out to TikTok and make sure that we're getting a pulse on what the trends are. We definitely have an extreme amount of tentacles within the VaynerX universe, which is just like shared learnings and resources, and everyone's cheering for each other in a really cool and powerful way, which I think stems from the top and Gary and his ethos. And I'm just humbled at the fact that I have the opportunity to reach out to colleagues and ask them what's up.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, like when it comes to like, you can say like trends or pulses, but like it's like that A/B testing to figure out like, would this work with my community or not? Or like, this is something cool that's happening right now in the industry, but it's something that may not affect me, but you're also maybe suggesting to other people, or just sharing knowledge with others, if you would. Have you found yourself like going through that kind of circles lately, as like some things that kind of cool down, there's like some things popping, but you're like, this can't really work for me?
100%. And for VeeFriends, a lot of it doesn't work for us, and I'm always happy to give advice 100% to friends, colleagues, people I want to support. And I think it's just, whether it's VeeFriends or another company, it's always going to come down to like, what are you and your company trying to achieve? And is this thing beating to that drum and your ethos and your values, while also like keeping on the pulse and going to drive the results that you want?
Another question was like, so like all the characters of Gary, like he's created, has he come up to you? Like, since I know he gifted you one and it's very special, like the bond that you guys have with this company, it's something that obviously may not be seen so much in the public eye, but I imagine with you and him, it's like on another level, especially with the amount of tenure you guys have together. Has he asked you like, what's a character I should create? And have you? No? Oh, so it's just, he's like, it's all me, F everyone.
But no, he is, of course, when we were creating the VeeFriends himself, I, along with other people, would give suggestions. We gave a list of, here are all the attributes, adjectives, characteristic traits that we know that you're about. Here's a list A to Z of animals. Go have fun. And we would like curate and give him ideas. Sometimes I would give him an idea that I really loved, and just because he could see that I really loved it, he's like, I'm not doing that shit. It's and I totally respect it. I think if I was the number one and it was my project and stuff, it would be very, very, very important for me to feel like it's native and authentic to me, because that's how, it's his company and his vision and his project, and to have that level of authenticity is why I think it really worked for us today. He, instead of us going and hiring an artist or hiring an outside firm to come up with the characters, the fact that he took the time to come up with 273 at launch characters, draw them all himself, really resonated with the community. Like, he put in the work and he knows them. And there's some 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 15 different characters that are pretty obscure. They're random, funny, memey, hat tips to things, relationships that he's had, people important to his life, and I feel like that's fun and cool, and it's fun for the community to see that and wonder what that character's about, or curious how it's going to continue to evolve and how we're going to continue to storytell around it.
True. I think I remember seeing a clip from VCon, like when Gary talked back a little bit to the crowd. Not saying anything bad about Gary, but I think he talked back saying like, how else do you think I can draw out this character? Like, someone criticized like how bad like a giraffe was or some character. And he's like, F you, like you try drawing it, like, without being a pro or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just cracked up. I'm like, it's true. Like, I'm not saying it's all Picasso or anything. Even I can't draw as well, but just how you're right. It's all authentic. It's all him. It's really great.
To be honest, he's He surprised me. He can draw. Honestly, I don't think he's going to professional drawing school or anything like that, but he can draw. And I think when you're someone as a public figure as he, it's easy to always just be a naysayer and point fingers and be cynical. I can respect that.
In most of his drawings, I think I remember from that clip, he got them graded through PSA.
Every original VeeFriends drawing is slabbed, authenticated by PSA. Yes.
Is he looking at a way to like ever gift that back to the community, or is that something he's just ever going to keep in his library?
So we auctioned 5 at Christie's. Diamond Hand's Hand, the original alpha drawing of Empathy Elephant, Gratitude Gorilla. I should know the 5 offhand. Granted, 3 of them. Those were 3 of the 5. Besides that, none have actually one. We've done an exchange where you could burn book games NFTs in return for an original VeeFriends drawing. So we have gifted some to the community. Aside from that, there are some other plans that Gary has with the drawings, but by and large and for the most part, they will be archived and stored for historical purposes and the legacy of the IP.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm going to kind of put you on blast real quick. One of my friends and people that like DM me wanted me to have an answer to one of Gary's posts. Is there something you can tell me about that?
We have a business development opportunity. If you own a retail location that you think has a good amount of foot traffic, we're interested in having a phone call with you. Aside from that, we haven't officially announced or specified what the opportunity is, but we have a form circulating that we ask for more details about what the retail is, what the retail business is, what location and or locations you have, and then we're going to be in touch.
All right, fair enough. Any other like tidbits or
It's
like
not the news? The news will be circulating if it hasn't already, I'm sure. But there will be an official announcement probably late March, early April.
Gotcha. So not like anything May 17th or May 21st, nothing outside the gotcha.
That you'll definitely know during VCon for sure, but it'll start being announced and shared before then.
True. Are there any takeaways that you learned from like VCon 1 that you're going to take from VCon 2 besides like the logistics of like navigating like a whole bunch of crowd of people?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the big thing, the big learnings were around just operations and staffing and personnel, and then how to put them in a position to succeed. I think aside from that, it's just the small stuff. You know, it's the small stuff at events that really make an impact, that people remember and like, man, that was really thoughtful. Or, wow, that was such a good experience. So dialing in on, you know, line management, logistics, small ways to make people's day-to-day and experience of the event a little more seamless, a little more user-friendly. And aside from that, I think what we did last year was remarkable. I think the feedback that we got was tremendous. Hosting 140 speakers and having panels go throughout the day and performances at night for 3 days is no small accomplishment. And we were able to do that well last year. So I'm hopeful from an attendee experience, I think it will be pretty similar. You know, there's going to be 3 epic days and nights at VCon for people to come together, meet, network, learn. And then on the back end, I'm hoping for just even more efficiency and more seamless operations.
For sure. When it comes to the speakers this time around, I noticed that I haven't really noticed a lot of those names before. Not to say like they're not popular or I've seen them in my like realm and stuff, but like how did you find these people versus like the people from the first round? I think the first round, from what I saw the list, Stevie Aoki, Logan Paul, like some of them were A-list celebrities and like others were like a lot of pop star or like other things.
We've probably announced less than half of the speakers that are going to be there this year.
Okay.
This how we found them is the same way that we found them last year. They're friends and family of VeeFriends and Gary. You know, Steve Aoki and Gary are really cool. Snoop Dogg and Gary are really cool. This year, our biggest focus on speakers and programming was to lean more and more into business and business executives than last year was very endemic and native to the who's who in Web3. Way more creators, artists, PFP creators at VeeCon 2022. Last year at VeeCon 2022. This year, you have Richard Dixon, the CEO of Mattel. You have Scooter Braun. You have Sydney Gallup. You have
Damon John.
You have the CMO of Bojangles. You have a lot more business executives that I think can provide a different sort of value to VeeCon attendees, in addition to the Web3 creators and artists. They'll have a presence there, but there will be a lot more business speakers, entrepreneurs, founders, builders that weren't there last year, which I'm really excited for. I think it'll be really good for the attendees and for the event as a whole.
That's awesome. So I'd be curious, like, to see that, like, once it's posted and stuff. Fortunately, I'll be able to attend. Plus,
yeah, and like some of the names, like if I asked you who the CEO of Mattel is, I don't think most people would be like, I'm not sure, you know. But Mattel is probably like the second or first biggest toy company on the planet. And to be the CEO of that, you have to have a lot of insights, learnings that you can provide. And I think you'll have to do both a Google search and just look at the full 120, 140 speaker list. And when you see the amount of culture, influence, and business acumen that is on that single flyer for VeeCon in 2023, I think most people will be like, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's profounding now to see, like, you know, how much business is going to like tie into it, and especially if they're going to like.
Well, and that's why it's
do
fun.
this
Like,
opportunity too.
Speakers, it's like a good business opportunity for them too. Like if you want to network and shake hands, learn more about the future and where things are headed from a Web3 and tech perspective, but also just do good old business development. What's going on in your world? How can I provide value to you? Here's what's going on with me. I think it's a great opportunity for attendees and for speakers.
True. And just a few last questions, just kind of going more a little bit on the technical side, just to kind of tie in some technical audience people too. Now, when it comes to like the images being hosted on the blockchain from the digital certificate, if the image were to go away or like it stop hosting, for example, they still have the digital certificate. Like, what other values does that digital certificate have if it doesn't draw it just with the JPEG that some people just want, just like the image itself?
Well, so the images, and a lot of images, it's funny, we're doing content on this. They're backed up in 2 and 3 different ways. The on-chain, actual on-chain, permanent Ether on-chain is just the metadata, not, as you said, the image and media content. To put that media on-chain is inefficient and very expensive. It's backed up in 2 different decentralized services, Arweave and IPFS. But let's say there's a world where both Arweave and IPFS disappear, blow up, we would still have the NFTs, and we could come up with a different way where, like, if you connect your wallet with that Ethereum NFT, we could recreate, duplicate an inaugural Genesis NFT that has that media and content stored elsewhere.
Just where do you see, like, again, like this project going in the next couple of years? I know we said you can do like the next 10 years, you can think of something else, but currently, what do you see your roadmap looking like for this project? And also, what do you see just as the NFT like community, as far as like just NFTs in general? Like with your current knowledge and mindset, what do you see like that projecting into later in the future?
The future is everyone on the planet will use blockchain technology and NFTs and own pieces of the internet and have digital collectibles. They're just not going to know that it's running on blockchain, and we're not going to call it NFTs. You know, I think there's been so much technical talk about NFTs and what is Ethereum and what are layer two. And those same people, if you ask them after a pint of beer how the internet works, they would give you the worst answers because they're not sure, but they're using it on an everyday basis. I think that's sort of the direction that we're headed. There's so much friction, the user experience, the hacks, et cetera, are not conducive to onboarding and getting this space to where it needs to be, but it's going to take time. And I think that time will come with platforms like Instagram having digital collectibles now. I think just that alone in the next 3 years is going to have a huge impact. I think influencers and creators that have 500,000, 200,000, 50,000 followers, but have real depth with them because they provide interesting content. And it's very native to Damien and his audience and why people like following and subscribing Damien. If Damien wants to put out a $3 NFT that has some phrase that he said on his last podcast, people will buy it and collect it because they love Damien, and also because it'll be like a weird, fun flex for them of like saying, hey, I supported Damien and I own this thing now forever. And it's not going to seem so abstract that you don't get to touch it. You just, it's in your digital wallet where you collect things digitally. So I think that's what will continue to happen and is happening. It's just going to take time. More brands are going to have to get involved. And most importantly, I think the government will have to start regulating more, which I'm all for. I think regulation will bring more safety and security and trust, which will bring more people in adoption. So just a matter of time. Predictions, I don't know how long, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but I can't imagine there's not a world where kids aren't buying an NFT, which is a skin for a video game that they can use in a different video game because of the portability of NFTs. Like if you and I were playing James Bond, GoldenEye 007, or Mario Smash Bros., and it came with like a really custom outfit that you needed to be able to beat the game with in order to get, we would be having so much fun if I could hop on a Zoom call right now and wear that skin as an avatar from like nostalgia and be like, oh shit, you played that game too? That was epic. Like, I think all of that is coming. It's just a matter of time. For VeeFriends, it's singularly to storytell and create stories that parents and kids and teenagers and grandparents are affected by. And hopefully it's rooted in stories that make them inspired and motivated and thoughtful and more self-aware and more patient and more humble and also more confident. And those, if we do that successfully, the Web3 and the NFTs and the digital collectibles and the Series 3 and the collectible trading cards and the access events and the VCon will all follow. We have to storytell and provide value and be entertaining. And then from there, all the other fun things come into place.
Nice. And then, and like, I do apologize going a little bit over time.
No worries.
I do promise this will be like 2 last questions here.
Okay.
Do you think, and this is going outside a little bit of VeeFriends, going into like Vayner 3, if you may happen to know this, you mentioned like before, like there's so much friction, like when it comes to like purchasing NFTs, like you have to buy it through a marketplace or through an exchange to then move it into the marketplace to where to buy it from and stuff like that. Do you know if Vayner 3 or even other companies that you may know of that are looking at a way to make it so frictionless where it could be like almost like Apple Pay, where I could just like load up my card and just like purchase it off there versus like transferring it, waiting?
Vayner 3 is a consultancy. It's a modern day consultancy for Web3. They're not actually going to be building any of the infrastructure, but they could definitely play a role in helping educate a company that might want to be doing that from a consumer and marketing and education standpoint.
Gotcha.
I think everyone, me included, and then in hindsight, it makes sense, was really bullish on Coinbase and Coinbase NFT marketplace because it was going to eliminate that big hurdle and obstacle and point of friction of buying Ethereum from an exchange, then you being educated and smart enough to send it to a non-custodial wallet to then go buy the NFT. It's taken them a long road to be able to get that into a place where they feel like if they have like a product fit and it has wide adoption. So I feel like that's fallen short. But I know today not all NFT collections have them have it selected, if you will. I think you have to opt into it, but you can pay with a credit card to buy an NFT, and then they just take your credit card processing payment, convert it into ETH, buy the NFT, and away you go. I think it's MoonPay that they've integrated with, which is accepting credit card payment and converting it on the back end.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to kind of see that more.
To summarize, I think the conversion of USD to ETH has gotten better because there's credit card payment processing and things of that nature, and that will continue to grow and develop for sure. The big hurdle and obstacle is still the education and time and learning needed to be able to say, okay, here's your seed phrase, here's your NFT wallet, here's where they're stored, here's why it's interesting to you. You know, I think all those things will come in time when you make it as easy as possible. You know, a good comp is like Facebook. When Facebook first came out, our parents were like, what in the world is this thing? They didn't they're liking things they shouldn't be liking and like commenting, and they had no fucking idea. I'm never going to use Facebook, and it's so confusing. Why would you do that? They're the only people that use Facebook now, and they're pros. My mom knows how to use Facebook better than I do. But it's because it just they adapted. Facebook adopted, it got better. They were better at understanding it, and then the value of why you would be using Facebook in the first place became really clear to them when they started to reconnect with people that they had lost touch with. And I think, you know, Facebook, the mechanisms is really what I'm comparing it to. There will come a time and day where people just start using it because most people around them are using it, and it has real world applications and utilities such as ticketing. You know, I'd be very surprised if 10 years from now every ticket is not an NFT, because that ticket will then be a collectible. I'm a big Luka Doncic fan. I go to a playoff game where Luka hits a game-winning shot. I get a hold on that ticket, and then they update the media content of that ticket to hit him hitting the game-winning shot. I'll hold on to that for the rest of my life, and I'll give it to my kid too afterwards. You know, so there's a lot of like fun alternate revenue streams, but just ways you can continue to storytell and build the IP of whatever company, brand, or institution you represent.
No, for sure. And that's funny you mentioned Luka. Like my wife says,
kind of looks like him, actually.
That's what I was just gonna say. My wife mentions him and sometimes calls him, and like other
It's
people
like
randomly talk to me.
Beard
Yeah, I don't know. And like I'm almost the same height too. Like I went to New York City to see a friend one time, and like he said, "You look like Luka" at a bar, and like other people look by, like, "Yeah, you look like Luka." Like I could wear a jersey, and people just start asking for autographs. I'm like, I'm not doing a prank video, but that'd be funny.
That's funny.
I think that's all that I have. Was there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything you want to tell everyone? Where can we find you?
My last name is my social handles across all platforms at Krainak. Aside from that, I got nothing, man. To you and everyone else who's an aspiring content creator or excited and passionate about just having conversations on things that they're interested in, couldn't encourage you all more to continue to create content. It's the only way you get better at it, and as long as you like it, then it's only upside. You're doing something that you like and you're having fun with, and it could lead to a lot of other opportunities that you can never foresee coming. It may not be that your podcast or YouTube show comes in the top 100. It might just be that someone watches it and wants to do a business deal with you or wants to recruit and hire you for a different job. There's just so much other opportunities that can come when you start to storytell about who you are and what you're about.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course. Other than that, I hope you have a blessed Tuesday, man. And we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
You got it.